Here we go. Happy Tuesday, beautiful people. I am Brittany Burrell. I go by B Burrell, and I'm a part of this amazing community, of course, known as Generational Wealth. And in this space, we focus on self growth. We focus on the 6 keys to wealth, which is emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, social, and financial wealth, right? And I love that those are the headlines, or those are the choices that we've chose to edify, because if you really think about each of those components, you can live an amazing life if you really focus on how healthy you are in each of those parts of your life, right? So again, you got emotional intelligence, emotional health, your mental health, spiritual, financial, social, and did I say financial already? I always get them mixed up, but I want to make sure you guys are always keeping that at the forefront of your mind and staying in tune with those specific areas, right? And so I talk about belief a lot because that's what a lot of people really struggle with. That's what a lot of people need mostly a development in, because once you get over the space of how to believe and you really embody that entire experience, it's everything else really just falls into place, because it puts you in a position where you also you just believe anything is possible. And as you develop your the spiritual and mental emotional state, what begins to happen is you begin to mature, your posture begins to change, where you automatically you begin to actually care about yourself without even I'm trying to make it make sense, like not actually said, okay, let me focus on my health, let me focus on getting better. Where when you focus on those 3 main keys, emotional, spiritual, and physical, and mental, what begins to happen is you begin to love yourself more. You begin to be more aware of, you know what, let me take this thing another step. So I want to ask you on tonight, when you think about those 6 keys, when you think about those 6 keys to wealth, well, where are you? What is your status? How are you physically? All right. Because we got 5 months left in this year, family. And I don't want you to beat yourself up if you haven't been on track. Right. I was doing amazing physically and working out, February, March, April, and then some emotional challenges happened in my life. And it just kind of just sucked all the excitement out of things that I was doing. But the fitness part, it just wasn't rocking because of what I was dealing with. But I know I'm getting back on that bandwagon actually this week, right? It took some time, but I'm getting back on the bandwagon. I say that because I want you to give yourself some grace. If there's been times where you're consistent and something happens in your life and you just need to take a step back and reset, it's okay. Give yourself some grace, because when you know you are your identity, when you know who you are, you don't have to be like, man, you don't live in regret. You don't live in, doubt or just unforgiving yourself. All right. So I want you to give yourself some grace when you think about that. So when it comes to the physical state, well, you all have a calling, you all have a passion, you all have a purpose that you got to serve. There's somebody that needs you in this life. You don't have to have 1 million followers to have influence, guys. When you're having a conversation with people, when you're passing by, when you got more than one person just following you or communicating, you have at least one friend, you have influence, because they have a friendship with you for a reason. You're right. So understand that when you are in that space where you can impact another life, I don't want you to take that for granted. I want you to really be like, you know what, God, thank you for putting me in that space, that ability to have influence over somebody else's life, to impact their life. And you don't have to know all the personal development of the word, but just loving somebody, giving a smile, giving a hug, just asking somebody how their day is doing. That says a lot about who you are, right? Because most people these days don't care about nothing, right? So when we break down every single component, your physical state, well, where are you physically? Where are you emotionally, which is your attitude? How do you respond to things? Well, when you begin to grow spiritually, by the way, the spiritual development actually affects your mental and emotional state, all right? Because you begin to believe more, you begin to see what's less important, what's more important. You begin to learn how to have more gratitude for just waking up to see another day, because we don't edify breath in our body enough. We don't edify having our needs met. We don't edify those things enough, because at the end of the day, somebody is wishing and praying they had that part, right? So your emotional state, your attitude, how do you respond to things? Are you staying in a state of gratitude as you're pursuing your goals and your dreams, right? Also, when it comes to your mental state, right? Your personal development, how you think, your character, your leadership, all of those components of your mental state. Well, if you're not focused on your spiritual development, you're going to have, if you're basically in a space of what we call spiritual sickness, all right, or you spiritual deprivation or spiritual dehydration, whatever words you want to use, what's going to happen is it's going to affect every other area of your life, because you guys understand what belief will do. Belief changes the game. Belief just makes everything so simple, right? So your physical, emotional, and mental state, they're really, really predicated on how well you can believe, how well you trust God, how your awareness on history. When you look at other chapters, when you look at other stories that have taken place, you got to take the lessons from those books, take the lessons from other people's experiences and put it into your life, right? So please, please, make sure you're in the state of mind that I really need to make sure I'm focusing on my spiritual state, my spiritual health. Now, my foundation is in God. So whatever your foundation is, I pray, first of all, that it focuses on you becoming a more positive person, loving, and it focuses on you having constructive thinking. All right. So when I think about my spiritual state, when I think about how much God just loves me and takes care of me, well, I began to also go a little further. Well, I say, well, I should not. I say, Brittany, you have the audacity not to take care of your body. Brittany, you have the audacity to not, it's really just exercise. I eat pretty well, but I asked if I wanted to convict, I'll get conviction, because how dare I'm able to wake up and see another day? How dare I'm able to feel this breath in my body and express my creativity, and I don't take care of myself, right? Because remember, I just said at the beginning, there's something God wants you to do. There's something God wants you to complete, but you got to make sure you're capable of doing that, right? I was with my friend today. We was at an event, and I'm looking at everybody, and they're just frail. You can just tell they didn't take care of themselves. Obese, just young people too. I'm just like, oh my goodness, let me wake up, let me check, let me tighten up, right? Because we take our bodies for granted. We do. Because we take it for granted by the things we don't do. We take it for granted by the things we don't care about, right? And then you have your attitude, your emotional state. Make sure you're reading books and embody yourself inside personal development, growth development. Guys, TV, social media, commercials, music, even your associations play a huge role in how you think, right? I've actually started separating myself from a lot of things that are like more so like I'm from Atlanta. I grew up, on Outkast and all these different folks, T.I., Young Jeezy, and I used to listen to the music heavy, right? These are still some of my favorite artists, but I have challenged myself this year. I said I'm not going to listen to any music with cursing, and I'm not going to watch anything with cursing in it. So I started doing these challenges, and I've been trying to stop saying the N-word. Honestly, I do, because the music I grew up on said it so much. And I said, why do I even say that word? So I started challenging myself. So now it's actually kind of part of my paradigm where I don't say those words. And I was like, why was I even saying it in the first place? Because of what I was listening to. I listened to it so much. I learned this music by heart that it became a part of my language. I brought that example to the table because I want you guys to understand. When I started changing it to listening to Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, David Emenike, when I started listening to all these different people, Neville Goddard, when I started listening to Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor, and I started listening to all these different people who only spoke about how to be happy, who spoke about how to be positive, who spoke about how to thrive and flourish and believe. When I started learning some new lyrics, right? Y'all with me? Y'all drop lyric in the chat box. When I started learning the new language, when I started learning some new lyrics that would change my mind, it would change my development, it would change how I would see things, guess what? Everything started coming to me. Things started flowing in my life. I'm like, man, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be honest. Listen, I still love me some good old trap music. I ain't going to lie to you. But I try to listen to the clean version now. ZG dropped the album last year called Snowfall. I was listening for the clean version. I said to myself, why do we have to have, I'm like, I guess because I started being so more personally developed, it made me ask the question, because I never asked the question before. I just did it. I just would go with it. That's what society do. Right. And then as I became more personally developed, I said, why do I curse? Like, where did that come from? So I had to find the root of it. It was just the music I was in. My mom doesn't curse, drink, smoke, she don't do none of that stuff. So it definitely wasn't from my household. It was from the music I was listening to. It was the movies that I watched. Right. And so I was like, okay, let me change that. So, let me tell y'all a joke. A friend of mine said, she said, dog, let's go. She said something, dog, let's go to the strip club. Okay. I say strip club. I said, I don't do that. She said, I know you'll be in there asking folks what they're grateful for on the day. She said, you'll be asking them, what are you grateful for? What are your goals? Why are you doing it? She said, you'll be in there doing ministry. And it's not to judge nobody. It is not coming from a judgmental space. It's just saying you could be more than this. You could be better than this. That's the frame of mind I'm always in. What are you thankful for today? Because now when I see certain environments, it just seems so toxic and low vibration, right? So I just want to give you guys a perspective. What if we change the dialogue? What if we change the narrative where we are listening to, I know one of my old mentors, he said he went 2 years without listening to music. Now music is my passion. Maybe he meant certain types of music, but ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to go 2 years and not listen to a darn thing, right? But to give you guys a type of concept here, if you just say, you know what, let me spend the next 21 days listening to, for instance, I love Earl Nightingale's The Stranger's Secret. I've probably listened to that thing 100 times over the years. And it just, every once in a while, I just play it back to back to back. And it always gets me together, right? It challenges me to think on how to be a better version of myself. Because again, how dare I say I love God and I want to do God's will and do his work, but I don't take care of my body? How do I want to say I want to do God's will and his work, but I don't take care of my mind? Earl Nightingale, The Stranger's Secret. Literally just type in The Stranger's Secret in YouTube to be the first video that pop up. It's on iTunes as well. The Stranger's Secret, which means the Stranger's Secret is people actually don't think. That's what the Stranger's Secret is. People think, but they don't. They just follow the routines and the schedules and what the world has already put in place. We just pick it up and emulate it instead of actually thinking and have our own thinking. But yeah, so, you know, how dare you say you want to grow and be this type of person, but you still doing, you know, on the last call, I was talking about how to believe and how to have faith and as you're pursuing your goals. And I said, you have to get to the point where you don't reason with your faith and you don't even need physical proof. You believe, right? Faith, you know, they say seeing is believing, but the seeing actually comes in the mind first. The seeing is the imagination. The seeing is what you see in your mind first. And that is what creates the faith. Your experiences, what God has brought you through, that is what seasons your faith, right? I'm from the South, and we do this thing what we call seasoning the pot. When you buy a brand new pot, put a little butter in it, you know, you do stuff like that to make the pot get seasoned. And so you got to think of yourself as a pot. You got to make sure you nurture yourself and butter up yourself. So when things begin to get hot in your life, you can endure, right? And so, but he talks about, you know, people not thinking and I went to belief. So I did a call about belief, and I said, you got to get to the point where you don't doubt, you don't reason, you don't question, do I believe today? It shouldn't be a hesitation. Belief should be your impulse. Belief should be your reaction. For instance, you could be in traffic, somebody cuts you off. You got two reactions. You're going to cuss them out or you're going to keep it moving, right? So you want to understand how to develop the impulse of faith, develop the impulse of believing right away. There's no hesitation. There's no gap. There's no window where you got to get angry first and then you come back to faith. You want faith to be your identity. You want faith to be your paradigm. You want your faith to be your subconscious mind, how to believe. So when adversity comes, it doesn't move you. You don't waver. You understand. I just saw a guy talking about God, you know, people pray for, you know, the adversity to go away. They pray for the fire to stop being so hot in your life, right? But what happens is God will keep you in the furnace because he wants you to be able to outlast the fire, to outlast that experience that you're going through, because it's a character development, right? So once you get to the point when you don't reason, you don't doubt, you don't question your faith, again, my foundation is God. So you just use it to fill in the blanks. But I don't doubt, I don't question, I don't reason with it. And what begins to happen is for those who reason, those who question, those who debate when they should believe, why they don't believe, et cetera, you're going to continuously be a slave to your former self. So how do you submit? How do you be like, you know what, I'm just going to stay in faith mode. I'm going to stay committed. I'm going to keep believing. How do you do it? Because you have to understand, it's simple for me. Y'all, have y'all ever been through life and you prayed God to make a way? Have you prayed for him to pull you out of situations and he showed up? Like, for me, it's like, bro, I got enough history to not question anymore. I have enough history to not doubt anymore. I have enough history that I can walk on water. Y'all get what I'm saying? So you got to get to that space. So it doesn't matter what you're facing on tonight. It doesn't matter what you're going through. And if you're in a great space, in a great season, guess what? There's going to be adversity to come because you're either leaving it, you're in it, or it's headed towards you. So if you understand that the adversity and challenges in life will either be, you'll be headed towards adversity, you're in one right now, or it's headed towards you, then you allow that thought, that philosophy to stay seated in your mind. And that life is always going to have adversity. But guess what? My God is always bigger than everything that I will face. Right? Because at the end of the day, your problems are not designed to win. Ooh, that's good, be real. Your problems are not designed to win. Y'all get it? Your problems are designed to build you, to strengthen you, to build character, right? I read today, it was about Paul. Paul asked God let me bring it up. Your problems are not designed to win. Yes, Apostle Paul asked God 3 times to move something that was troubling him. But God's response was, my grace is sufficient for you, right? God decided not to remove the challenge, okay? He said, I'm allow this opposition to stay in your life because, Paul, I wanted to increase your strength. I wanted to increase your faith. I want it to become easier when you face adversity. Ooh, that's good. If you stay in adversity in that moment, whatever that challenge is that God has you sitting in, you need to always ask yourself, what am I supposed to take away from this? Right? What am I supposed to take away from this? Every single time. What am I supposed to gain from this? What am I supposed to take away from this? All right. So what he did was he put him in that space to increase his faith, increase his strength. And so now whatever is headed towards him next, listen, he's gonna be like, oh, that's light work. Somebody drop light work in the chat box. Oh, that challenge is light work. I've been through worse. Oh, y'all ever been there before? Oh, I've been through worse. All right. That's light work now, meaning your faith is so strong. Your endurance has now you used to your faith was 50 pounds worth of resistance. Now you can lift 100 pounds worth of faith and 200 pounds worth of faith, right? So it begins to be light work, okay? And so there may be people in your life that have been sent to you specifically designed to be character builders, okay? Specifically designed to teach you a lesson. And you got to make sure you have such a spiritual maturity that you have the awareness to look for the lesson, that you have such a high spiritual maturity that you are aware, okay, why was this person sent to me? Why is this person in my life? What am I supposed to gain from it? Because what people often do, they don't learn from the cotton picking obstacles. They're not asking God, what's the lesson? They just they just won't learn the lesson because they're leaning on their own thinking, their own mind. If I'm in the middle of adversity, I'm in the middle of just something that's breaking my heart, I'm like, God, what am I supposed to get from this? All right. What do you want me to gain from this? Give me the discernment to know what am I supposed to take away from this? And how is it going to apply to my future life? You got to be able to have that impulse, guys. That's what I'm saying. If you're not studying and getting this as your spiritual development, you won't be mature enough to grow through your experiences. You're going to stay in the same loophole, still dealing with the same people that God has been trying to pull out of your life, but you keep bringing them back, right? The same job that he's been trying to pull you away from, but you keep living in fear. Well, then if you live in fear, where's faith in your life? You said that you're a believer, you're forgetting the history. You're forgetting that God will supply all your needs in every single point of space and every single moment of time. There's always a divine surplus. So how dare you stay somewhere that is toxic and not allow God's glory to prevail in your life? How dare you try to go against what God is trying to pull you away from, right? Your finances. Why are your finances suffering? What decisions are you? Listen, it's so simple. When you make a decision, just say, would God do this? It's so simple. Is God in this decision? I'm talking about a decision that you make, not something the Holy Spirit is giving you. I'm talking about a decision that you make. All right. Would God want me to do this? Is this a God-centered decision? All right. Yes, we're to help people. Yes, we're supposed to love on people, but you also got to allow people to do for themselves. All right. So don't stifle people's growth. Don't stifle people. Right. What Jesus do? Don't stifle people because you're trying to be super, super nice. No, if they are toxic, if they're not adding value to your life, listen, get them a good word, get them a good book and keep it moving. All right. So your relationships, how healthy are your relationships? If they're not adding to your life, keep it moving. Okay. How healthy is your work environment? Your coworkers, your managers, if you are the leader, if you're the CEO, How well do you treat your staff? How well do you treat yourself if you're an entrepreneur, right? When it comes to your finances, why are they suffering? Well, are you reading materials to improve your financial literacy? Are you looking at things on YouTube? And I mean, at this point, information is being dumped out at 100,000 times faster than ever before. You know, people say that social media is a bad thing. It can be if you have a bad frame of thinking, but it also could be something healthy. I think it's just social media is another Google platform, right? Let me Google it. Somebody can tell me on a video, on a reel, or somebody can just Google it, right? You got to be specific and intentional about the type of information you allow in your life. So for me, if my finances were suffering, I'm studying, okay, who do I want to be like? I want to be like Oprah. I want to be like Tyler Perry. Okay, what books are they reading? What habits do they have? What do they do to get to that point, right? Oh, they focused on getting money management. They focused on serving people more. They're focused on finding ways to buy real assets and allocate their wealth. Side note, okay, I did a call last night. One of my other business, I did a call last night. I was teaching, and I'm just going to give y'all this nugget. It's a company called Rivian. It's an electric car company. They have SUVs and pickup trucks, and their stock price is $27 today. I want y'all to think about that. At one point, it was $1. So somebody probably bought $1,000 worth of stock back then when it was $1. Now their $1,000 is worth $27,000. All right. So now I want you guys to know that it's $27, and they just partnered with Amazon, and they're going to start producing electric trucks for Amazon shipping. Why do I know that? Because I became financially literate. And I know that if I invest in something as in the beginning, guess what? It's going to eventually take off. All right. So boom. Rivian, Rivian. It's an electric car company. Right. But if I stay broke, living paycheck to paycheck, and not asking myself, well, what is Warren Buffett doing with his money? I started asking the right question. That's right, Rivian. I started asking myself the right questions. And so now, because I have that newfound level of awareness, guess what? It just pops up. Information just comes to me. Information just comes down my page. Oh, who is this? Right. It's another. I'm gonna give y'all another nugget. It's Illuminar, another company. I'm just saying. I don't know the spirit telling me to say this, but it's another company. That. Let me just tell you how I got to it. I was looking at wealthy people. I was looking at their habits. I was looking at what type of assets they possess. I came across Kylie Jenner. And is it Kylie? The one who owned the makeup. And so I was looking at her assets. And then it said other billionaires under 30 years old. I said, well, let me see what they do. Okay, they do tech. Some of them have an inheritance, but a lot of them were just tech. And so one guy, he has a company. Why do I know this? Because I said I said I am a millionaire. That's what I am, a millionaire. So what begins to happen is I look at these information, I look for things, and they just begin to just come because my search history is based off of what I'm focused on. So what does Google do? What does YouTube do? What does Instagram do? What does TikTok? They give you recommendations. So I'm on Google looking at Kylie. They recommend, look at these other billionaires. And guess who I came across? A young man who's maybe 25, 26. He dropped out of Harvard, and he created his own chip that creates self-moving vehicles. He, AKA competition to Tesla. It's called Luminar Technologies. Guess how much it is today? The last time I looked at it was like $6 and some change. Now it's $7.84. So what happens when everybody starts working more with him, getting more partnerships? He's partnered up with a lot of different companies. I'm gonna buy some shares. I'm gonna hold them, I'm gonna sit on them, and then guess what? One day they're gonna explode. Why? Because I am wealthy. I am rich. I am sowing into the lives of other people. I not only speak it, but I seek the information because I want to be what? Financially healthy. And guess what? So now things are headed towards me. God will also set up the play. He said, well, B want to be wealthy. Let me get his guy. Oh, God, this is so good. Well, be real. I want her to be wealthy. She desires it. I can feel it in her heart. It's pulsating. It's attracting me to her. Well, let me tell this young man to create a chip that will make electric cars self-moving and allow it to come across her Google. And so she can invest into it. So I can also invest into her goal. Y'all get what I'm saying? Ooh, that's so good. Ooh, that's so good. So your desires are not just simply predicated on you trying to go out here and labor. He was set up to play for you. All right. So guess what's going to happen? I'm going to keep buying Luminar. I'm going to keep buying Rivian. I'm grateful that he gave the guy Rivian. He gave them the idea to help me become wealthy. Y'all see what I'm saying? It all works together. Right? Then you have your mental health, your social health, your physical. All of those play a part, but you got to seek growth in those areas. You just literally, how do I grow emotionally? What books do I read? It's information galore out here. People are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for shortcuts and information they can get for free. Literally. I'm so blown away by, like, it's a couple of people I follow online. They have hundreds and hundreds of thousands, 200,000-300,000 people following them because they say stuff that you could just Google. They say stuff about Napoleon Hill and Warren. They say stuff that's just on you. They just regurgitate what people won't look up. All right. They won't go buy the $8 book, Richest Man in Babylon. They won't go buy the $5 book, Science of Getting Rich, to change your life. Guys, the information you know today, you went to school and learned it. Why does learning stop at a certificate, at a degree? No, it's now, it's forever. It's always evolving. You are infinitely learning. Because because I have an infinite God within me. I can infinitely do things. I am that I am, right? But I just wanted to put that in perspective for you all. Go get what it is that you desire because you are aware that God lives within you. So there should be no hesitation, doubts, or limiting thoughts, or disbelief, or roadblocks that should ever cross your mind. Because you should have a level of expectancy at this part. You got to get to the point. It's like this. I know the sun gonna rise in the morning. Do y'all know the sun gonna rise in the morning? Yes or no? All right. Do we believe the sun gonna at this? It's not believe. I just know the sun is gonna rise. And I know it's gonna set every single day. It's been doing it every single day since I was born. It's been doing it since before I was born. Right. And it's gonna be keep doing it when we leave. Do y'all believe the seasons are gonna continuously change? It's gonna be fall. There's gonna be spring. There's gonna be summer. And there's gonna be winter. Rinse and repeat. The seasons keep going. The sun gonna set and the moon gonna shine. It's going to be some rain. It's going to be some thunderstorms, but the weather always changes and the sun is rising and setting and the earth is spinning. That's how you have to believe in God. That's how your faith has to reside. But the difference is when the seasons are changing, it can be summer. Oh, this is so amazing. It's summer outside. I was in the pool today, hanging out, having a good time. But even in the midst of knowing that my faith is at the same capacity of me knowing the seasons will change. My faith is at the same capacity of me knowing that the sun will rise and fall in the morning, rise and shine in the morning, right? But even in the midst of me living in the summer season, me knowing that I'm living in the summer season, guess what? I don't know if it's going to be raining tomorrow. AKA, I don't know if it's going to be adversity in my life tomorrow. But all I can do is expect that when the rain comes, I'm going to be okay. All I can do in my personal life is that my faith is embedded in God, is that when the rain comes, that I'm going to be better than okay. Y'all get what I'm saying? The seasons are going to change. The sun is going to rise. The sun is going to set. It doesn't matter if it's. We had some sleep, some hell in like 2-3 weeks ago. It's 95 degrees, beautiful day, and then out of a no, boom. I'm talking about nipple-sized hail balls. And then it went away. That's how life happens. You never can compare. You can only expect that adversity is going to come. I can only expect that one day it's going to rain. But do I allow that to waver my faith? Do I run and tuck away in a corner and hide? No. God is protecting me. He's just sending the rain. He's just sending the hail. He's just sending the storm because there's something I'm supposed to gain from it. And the last thing is this. You got to also be aware that he's not always sending you storms, that he's not always sending you adversity. You have to take 100% responsibility for the decisions that you bring upon yourself, for the storms that you cause yourself. God, a lot of times, is trying to keep us from certain storms. But because we're so hard-headed, we keep putting ourselves, y'all see those memes when the guy is sitting on the bench and it's raining over his head, right? Well, you have to be aware when you make a decision, will this decision add value to my life? Will this decision benefit my life? Would this decision God touch and agree with? That's always ask that question. If you get caught up in drama and gossip and chaos and all that type of stuff. Now, some people are going to dislike you just because you're happy. Some people are going to dislike you because you might be just a cool person and people like you. People will dislike you just for the most dumbest things, right? And that's just their own inferior attitude. That's their own jealousies and their own, self-image. So don't take things personal when people dislike you, by the way. That's their own self-image. So that's some healing that they have to go through. But be mindful of the decisions that you make in your personal life. So where you are today, evaluate your life, where you are physically. Are you overweight? Are you dealing with diabetes? Are you dealing with things that are in your control? Let's start with that. Are you dealing with things that are in your control? Well, if you're dealing with things in your control, let's take responsibility for those things and let's make a change. All right. High blood pressure, obesity, stuff like that. Eat better diets. Go to the doctor, get an evaluation, and do what they say to do. Take better care of ourselves. Don't look for a shortcut, earn it. As you evaluate your finances, are you living in a, poor financial position because you enjoy spending first? Because you haven't sat down and made a budget? Because you haven't sat down and know what you're making every month? Because you haven't sat down and calculated what your bills are every single month? You just haven't set a goal, make a budget, right? Pick up an extracurricular activity. Pick up extra job, pick up an extra skill set so you can double up your income. Whatever your cost of living is, you should be making at least twice that, minimum twice what your cost of living is. All right. So 4 times that will put you in what we call financial freedom. Okay. Then you focus on building a net worth. Right. I'm rereading this book again called The Millionaire Next Door. It talks about economic outpatient care. And it talks about when grown kids are still dependent upon their parents. They're still dependent upon their family, and it becomes a cycle where they never stop depending on them because they did what? They never became financial literate. It's simple. Get good credit, make 2 to 4 times your income, take 40% or more and invest it into real asset stocks, treasury, bonds, real estate, passive income. It's really that simple. And you do it over and over again. So when you wake up one day, if you were to not work for 10, if you were not to have a single source of income come into your household for 10 years, would you still be financial? I'm sorry. Financial freedom is when you're allocating your income, that extra income, to real assets, and you're building up a net worth. And once your debt is paid off, if you have any debts, and whatever money you have remaining, could you live off that money? How long could you live off your wealth? 5 years, 10 years, right? They say financial freedom is a person who can live off that amount of wealth for over 10 years, 5 years without receiving a single source of income. If everything just stopped, because why? They got this amount in stocks. They got this much in real estate. They got this much in treasury and bonds and insurance because they put their money in the right place. There we go. Fidelity and Vanguard. There you go. Yeah. And also E-Trade. E-Trade is another one. I want to say Fidelity allows you to buy partial stocks now. All right. So you can get more than one. I always recommend you can have multiple platforms. Because what happens is after the pandemic, they start allowing people to buy partial stocks like cryptos. Like cryptos, you can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is worth $29,000 today, you can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. So now they allow you to do that with certain stocks, but it depends on the platform. So Fidelity and E-Trade are great platforms. And so, I'm just kind of giving you guys some insight, how to think. Again, the stranger secret, your mental intelligence, get around growth communities, go to conferences, read books, look up the next conference with TD Jakes or Tony Robbins. There's so many people. I can't even have a brain. Mel Rob, what's her name? I just know it's Mel, right? Carolyn Leaf. It's a lot of people that do different conferences and stuff. Your emotional intelligence, your physical, your mind, your social health. Be around people that better you. Be around people who are doing better than you. Because a lot of times that's motivational. You see somebody like it's on their grind, they focus. A friend of mine always compliments me on that. She said, B, I just love being around you. You like a freaking robot. Like you just focus. When you make your mind up to do something, you just be on it. And my best friend told me yesterday, I said, dog, I'm so excited about this course I'm building. It's going to be such a game changer. And it's going to be such a game changer. What are some things that help you to transform your faith into your trading to become successful? So I will answer that question, but I'm going to close the call and answer that question. Is that okay? And so she said, "Dog, you're not going to go nowhere without me." I said, "What you mean?" She said, I know you, when you make up your mind to do something, you've done everything you've ever said you're going to do. And she said, I know you're going to start traveling again after lunch. And she said, "You're not going to leave me here by myself." I said, "Well, get the ball rolling, dog." You know what I'm saying? So, because I said it to say is, make sure you're around people who inspire you and motivate you, even if they're friends or family, or if they're not. Sometimes you got to separate yourself from people who are your blood and they're not doing that. I mean, it really boils down to that. So find those events, get on Eventbrite, get on meetup.com, get in Facebook groups and look for people who focus on improving their health, a fitness club or a fitness community. People who love reading, a book club, people who love reading personal development. You got to go find that community, because a lot of times your personal community, they're not really doing that. And you may have to lead the pack. You may have to do it first and then they'll follow. Right. So, I just want to give you guys some insights. 5 months left of this year, but I really don't care about time. I'm not really a person who gets caught up in time, because the seasons are going to keep going and the sun is going to rise and set regardless if I'm here or not. And so you just pursue your goals like the sun rises and the sun sets. I actually say that in my academy, is that you pursue your goals just every day. When the sun rises, you pursue your goals. When the sun sets, you pursue your goals. When the sun rises, you pursue your goals. When the sun sets, you pursue your goals. And then after, at some point, guess what? Boom, you've birthed, you've arrived. Your results have developed. Your results have shown themselves, because you did it with the sun every day. That's how I move. I just do it with the sun. Me and the sun have a partnership. All right. So I just want you guys to think in that capacity, but focus on those 6 keys to wealth: your mind, which is your mental health, your emotional health, which is your attitude, your physical health, which is your body, your finances, your social health. And I'm always missing one, y'all. Mind, body, spirit. It's 6: social, physical, financial, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Okay. Just do every 90 days or every 30 days, grade yourself or look at where you are. You know where you want to go. You know what decisions you have to make. And some of those decisions are going to be hard decisions, but you can stay where you at, or you can let God take control. Okay. Don't hang up, because I'm going to answer that question. But that's our generational wealth call tonight. Anybody got a hashtag? Anybody got a hashtag? We always drop a hashtag in the generational wealth community chat. I don't know. I talked about, I guess 6 keys to wealth. Keys to wealth. Is that too long? What y'all think? Give me some feedback. What's our hashtag tonight? What could be from something we said tonight? Keys to wealth. There we go. Let me take that and drop that in the chat. So I'm going to stop this recording. Boom, shakalaka. Thank y'all for tuning in to GW Call. Let me